17 members and associates of the Hells Angels are facing criminal charges in a violent attack.
Federal agents allege the outlaws sold drugs, traded firearms, and engaged in insurance fraud and even tampered with government witnesses.
We have learned there is cell phone video as well as surveillance video of evidence in this attack.
The U.S. Attorney characterized today's raids as historic, the largest federal bust on organized criminal gang activity.
Retaliation is common for crimes involving biker gangs. However, it could happen anywhere because of how interconnected gangs have become nationwide.
The 3-year investigation resulted in 42 federal indictments on a variety of charges, including racketeering, money laundering, drugs, gambling, insurance fraud, and extortion.
There's a bunch of bikers up here, and they're shooting guns and stuff. I need the police now.
But on foot going towards 2nd Street. Okay, receive.
Welcome to this episode of Biker Wars with Bill Stacks. I appreciate everyone that takes the time to watch this show. This is an insane story. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this one. Before we get started, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this video, tell a friend to tell a friend. We got exclusive content over here, and I appreciate everybody that takes the time to watch this show. If you want to donate to the show, you can hit up the Cash App at Chatting with Stacks. If you want to be a guest on the show, hit my email up at BillStacks2021. I appreciate it. Let me give a couple shout outs. Hey, Mark, what's going on? Josh, how are you? Thank you. Shout out to Denver. We got Denver in the house. We're getting pretty good numbers. We just hit 14,400 subscribers. Thank you to everyone that subscribes to the channel. Today, we are talking about a murder of a whole family. It's a very sad one. So this has to do with drugs, motorcycle club, and greed. So the story is there was a man who was selling narcotics. He was selling cocaine. He would go to California and buy it, come back, and then sell it. He lived in Washington State, and he had associates that were involved with the Bandidos motorcycle club, and they would buy it off him. And I think this is just my speculation, don't take it as gospel, you know what I'm saying? But they got jealous, seen he had this, and they wanted it. So things went really bad all the way around, and a whole family ended up getting killed. The Careaga family murders. So the Careaga family consisted of 43-year-old Johnny Careaga, 37-year-old Christale Careaga, 16-year-old Johnathon Felipe Higgins, 16-year-old Hunter Schaap, who all resided at the home in county of Kitsap County, Washington. John and Christale had gotten married in 2009, and the two had teenagers coming from prior relationships, and the parents had been involved. So, they had kids with other people. They got together, and then so these are the 3 suspects. They ended up getting convicted of these crimes. So here, let me do this. I'm going to play a news article, but we're going to go down a rundown of what all this case involves, and then I'll play you guys the news article. So, the Careagas were owners of a Java hut. It was like a coffee shop, and they had a taco shop too. It's called Juanitos. It was a thriving Mexican restaurant. The murders happened on January 27th of 2017. Christale Careaga, Hunter, Johnathon, they were all shot and killed within their home before the residence was set on fire. Exactly 2 days later, the charred corpse of Johnny was discovered in his light-duty truck off of remote road in a forest preservation of Mason County, where he had been gunned down and torched. On the night of the murders, Christale Careaga reportedly had some friends over at the residence. Meanwhile, Johnny received a phone call while at the house, and then he went out to meet somebody, telling the family he would return home. Shortly later, Johnny later returned to the premises, but he did not enter the house. One of the guests at the Careaga residence went out to the garage to check up on him, only to hear three men talking in loud voices. As the killings were taking place, police in Bremerton, Washington, received a phone call from Hunter Schaap, who informed 911 emergency dispatchers that he and his family had been shot, and begging them to hurry over to the house. The phone line subsequently went dead, and Hunter was smothered with a pillow before being fatally shot in the head. When responders later arrived at the Careaga home, they found the residence premise burning down in flames, with the bodies of Christale, Hunter, and Johnathon all lifeless. A few days later, on January 29th, Johnny Careaga was discovered dead in his burnt Ford F-150 pickup truck on an abandoned remote tree farm in Mason County, Belfair, Washington. A property caretaker, this said farm, told investigators that Johnny had been on the lot earlier in the day, only without his truck. According to the Kitsap County Fire Marshal's office, fire log, likely soaked in some type of accelerant, had been placed on the beds of the opposite ends of the home after Christale, Hunter, and Johnathon all died. Large rocks were then thrown through the house windows to fuel the flames. When investigators examined the crime scene, they uncovered about $50,000 in cash stowed away in a strong box with a money bag in the master bedroom containing $7,000. So it's $57,000. Now, the motive for the murders, the quadruple homicide of the family of four, is said to have been the result of a dispute between Johnny and the perpetrators over illicit drug sales. He was a apparent target of an attack, according to law enforcement investigative efforts. Johnny was a regular, bringing back a kilogram of cocaine from California every few months to sell it for the profits. Detectives in Kitsap County Sheriff's Office, in conjunction with the FBI special agents, have come up with a conclusion that members and associates of the Bandidos motorcycle club had been involved in the slaying of the Careaga family. The Bandidos MC is the self-proclaimed one-percenter motorcycle club with global presence, and they have a long-standing history of involvement in organized crime as well as other unlawful activities, including drug trafficking and murder. Some of the customers brought cocaine from Johnny and were members of the Bandidos motorcycle club. One of Johnny Careaga's close friends started selling the cocaine he transported from California to Robert Bobby Watson III, a fully patched member of the Bandidos motorcycle club. It's not known whether Watson purchased the cocaine from his own personal use or to resell it for profits of it. The friend of Johnny's eventually decided to put a stop to the selling, placing Johnny into direct communication with Bobby Watson III. As a subsequent result, when Johnny wound up taking up his routine trip down to California after this incident, Watson would follow closely behind him, ultimately causing an intense verbal argument between the men. Robert James Watson III, Bandidos Motorcycle Club, Bellingham Chapter Vice President, Robert Bobby Watson III, had been described as an alleged mastermind behind the slayings. When he asked by fellow club members about his involvement in the Careaga family murders, Bobby Watson would replay with different in the responses. The president of the Bandidos chapter condemned the crimes and cooperated with law enforcement investigators, expressing his disapproval towards any club member that would kill women or children. Johnny James Watson, Bremerton resident Johnny Watson, is the younger brother of Bobby Watson. Unlike his brother Bobby, however, Johnny's Watson was not affiliated with the Bandidos Motorcycle Club. Danie Kelly Jr. was a hang-around associate of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club who prospected membership was proposed by Bobby Watson. He was seen in police surveillance video wearing a Bandidos MC supporter apparel. Kelly had once had a close relationship with Johnny Careaga, even going as far as to serve as his best man in his first wedding. The two would later have a falling out. However, after Johnny accused Danie of stealing from him. Now, I'm going to play you guys a video that explains all of this. This is an insane story. So, the Bandidos didn't approve of all of this. So, it says that they helped the police get this thing solved. They handed the guy over. So, take a look at this.
That's right, Steve and Joyce. You know, the detectives we spoke with here in Kitsap County say that the Bandidos are known for their hatred of police. But in this case, they were actually helpful because a couple of their members may have crossed the line.
I'm hoping to raise a couple $1,000.
The public knew John Careaga as a local taqueria owner involved in positive community events like this taco fundraiser in 2012. But according to investigators, Careaga was also involved in drug dealing.
So that's him right there in the restaurant. That's the guy that was found in the charred truck. Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? Shout out to you. What's good, Hatchet? Josh, how are you? Lindsay, thank you for joining me today. Joe Blunts, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. Yeah, this is an insane story.
And had customers who were members of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club, including two of the suspects arrested yesterday, Danie Kelly Jr. and Robert Watson III. According to Kitsap County investigators, the Bandidos are one of the largest motorcycle gangs in the country, known for drug dealing, violent crimes, and a dislike of police. An entry-level member is considered a hangaround.
Hey, Hap, how are you?
Can be promoted to prospect if they fulfill all requests of their mentors. Detectives say Kelly got promoted to prospect after the killings by his sponsor, Watson III, who was then vice president of the Bremerton Bandidos.
Isn't that crazy? He's involved with this murder of a whole family, women and children, and he gets bumped up to prospect from hang around. That is insane. But then the other people that are involved in the club, they're like, nah, we're not a part of any of this. And they condemn what happens.
When they're asking for something to be done, it is generally expected that a hangaround or even a prospect would do those acts.
Lead Detective Lisa Gundrum does not consider the Careaga killings gang-related. She said local Bandido members were actually cooperative with police, even the club's president, letting detectives know Watson III supposedly showed up to someone's house hours after the killings without any pants, and that Watson had allegedly changed his stories about his involvement with the family's murder.
They have a sense of loyalty, and they want to defend and obviously protect They're brothers, but they won't stand. Again, this is what I was told. They won't stand for a member who kills children and women.
According to detectives, not long after the killings, anonymous tips started coming in suggesting that the Bandidos might have had something to do with all of this. And not long after that is when police say the Bandido president and his attorney showed up here at the sheriff's office willing to help.
See,
live in Port Orchard, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
I want to know what you guys think. What do you think of that? With they commit a heinous crime like this against women and children, and then, I mean, obviously they should condemn it, but it's an outlaw motorcycle club. They're not supposed to get involved with any law enforcement type of stuff, so it kind of puts them in a rock and a hard place, right? Hey, Interviews, what's going on? Make sure you guys go subscribe to Interviews with Popcorn. He's got a great show. Go subscribe and show him some support.
And what are you reporting?
My whole family shot me.
This is the little kid that called 911. This is his 911 call. This is a very sad situation. This is when the kid called 911.
Family shot me too.
Today, a big break.
My whole family shot me too.
Today, a big break in the road toward justice. Multiple arrests in the murder of a Kitsap family. A desperate 48-second phone call by a 16-year-old boy pleading for help.
Hey, someone here with a gun. I don't know if you need to come now.
The call ends. Later, a home found burning with 3 bodies inside, a woman and 2 boys. 2 days later, a father found dead inside his burned-out truck.
Every day that goes on, the longer this takes, it's just harder. This burden does not get lighter.
We deserve justice. They deserve justice. Those boys deserve.
You see, some time went by and they didn't know how long. They didn't, like, a bunch of time went by and they didn't know who did this. You always have the best topics. I look for some pretty good stories to explain to the people. I like sharing these crazy stories.
Justice.
And finally, the wheels of justice are turning today in the murder of the Careaga family. Thank you for joining us for the news at 5. I'm Hannah Kim.
And I'm Jamie Tompkins. 3 people have been arrested for the quadruple homicide. 2 of them reportedly members of a motorcycle club. We have team coverage tonight. Steve Higgins has details on the investigation step by step.
But first, we had to anchor David Rose, who spoke with family members today. David, how are they reacting to this?
Well, they are elated, Hannah. About 20 of them came here to the Kitsap County Sheriff's Department and met with the detective and the investigators who arrested the 3 suspects this morning in an operation that we're told went very cleanly. The family came out of that meeting feeling much better about the situation, as tragic as it is, because they had some of their questions answered, but they know there's still a lot of things they don't know. And are all of the suspects in custody? Detectives say there may be more involved. But let's talk about the 3 that were caught this morning, finally, after 5.5 years. Fox 13 news reporter Steve Higgins is here with me in Kitsap County and has that part of the story.
David, this was a very sudden end to this years-long investigation, but by this morning, 3 suspects, 2 of them here in Pierce County and another, 2 of them here in Kitsap County and another down in Pierce County, all arrested, and they had to coordinate it, so where all 3 were arrested just within hours of each other.
It's been a long road. We've never given up. Our detectives have poured blood, sweat, and tears into this case.
Lieutenant Ken Dickinson from the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office spoke with a grin on his face, pleased to share the news. The case that once ran cold might finally be coming to a close.
These are the types of people we need to get off the street.
So the case went cold. They didn't know who did this. And these people got away with this for a while. It's crazy.
My whole family shot me too.
These were 16-year-old Hunter Schaap's last words on a call to 911, pleading for help on January 27, 2017.
Who did it? Someone here with a gun. I don't know if you need to come now.
The call lasted less than a minute. When first responders got to the Careagas' home, they found the building on fire. And when the flames were doused, 3 bodies were discovered inside. 16-year-old Hunter Schaap, 16-year-old Johnathon Higgins, and 37-year-old Christale Careaga. But her husband, 43-year-old Danie Kelly, was nowhere to be found. Someone spotted his truck, also scorched by fire, along a remote North Mason County road some 3 days later.
What do you want to bet that when this happened, they found them bodies in the house, like the woman and the 2 kids? They thought this guy did it. They probably thought he was a suspect. I guarantee you that's what happened. When they found this whole family dead, they thought this guy was the suspect. And then they find his truck and he's burned. Did you know if the guys arrested are still alive? Yeah, they're still alive. They're in prison. All of them were arrested and convicted.
Johnny's body.
Hey, Maureen, how are you? Thanks for joining me. Mike Tyson, what's going on?
Investigators shared new information seeking the public's assistance. This surveillance video, released by investigators in June 2017, showed this man, who they called a person of interest. The video was taken inside a Target store 12 days before the murder. Police identified the man as 39-year-old Danie Kelly, shown wearing attire connected to the Bandidos motorcycle club. That's when investigators pled with other club members to come forward with information about those murders, but the case grew colder with each passing month until now. 4 years later, after the video was released,
4 years.
3 men are under arrest.
4 years later it took for this to be all straightened out. And they were sentenced to life without parole, first-degree murder. I'm going to get to their punishments after this.
2 of them with ties to the motorcycle club each faced 16 charges, from aggravated first-degree murder, assault, kidnapping, burglary, and more. We don't yet know if Kelly is officially charged. After years of sweat and toil, Kitsap County Sheriff's deputies believe they can finally bring justice to the Careaga family.
Elated and relieved and satisfied. I mean, all the good things that you can think of. This is the result of years of tremendous hard work on the part of so many people to finally bring some measure of justice, or at least begin the process of that for the Careaga family.
Now, there's still much to learn exactly how all 3 of those arrests happened earlier today and the direct lead-up of those arrests. We're going to learn much more tomorrow. A detective working on this case mentioned the probable cause documents for each of these suspects is 50 pages long. Now, each of these suspects are being held here in jail on $20 million bail each, likely to be arraigned tomorrow.
$20 million bond.
Steve, thank you. Kitsap County Sheriff's detectives also worked with the FBI. This was an intense investigation that was very detailed. They were dedicated and not going to give up. Some family members were frustrated at how long it took, but the prosecutor's saying they wanted to delay the trial because of COVID until they could have a jury trial, which they now can have. So they served those warrants and arrested those 3 suspects today. One of the people that our viewers have connected with over the years is the mother of Hunter Schaap, Carly Schaap, because she has made so many tearful pleas, and her pain has just been palpable every time she talked, asking for somebody to come forward. It worked. Detectives say they did get tips from the public to assist in this case. So today, after she spoke with investigators, I talked with her about how she's doing.
I'm happy that there's going to be some answers. I'm happy that, we've been waiting over 5 years for arrests to be made, so this is a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah.
A huge step.
Will you be in court tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you learn anything today that you didn't know that might provide some answers for you?
I think a lot of it was answered for me today, and some things were. No, I got some answers, and unfortunately, there's going to be a lot more that I don't know and will come out, and that is scary.
So many more details that we're going to learn tomorrow. Now, coming up at 5:30, I'll talk with Christale Careaga's daughter about her reaction to the news today of these 3 arrests. Fox 13 has led coverage on this from the very beginning, breaking every major development, including the story today. We're going to stay committed to helping cover this for the people in Kitsap County that have been rattled, rightfully so, about this quadruple murder. So stay right here, and fox13seattle.com for the very latest. I'll see you at 5:30. For now, I'll send you back to the studio.
That other guy needs to lay off the hot dogs. You think? This is an insane story, though. So, in response to the Careaga murders, investigators assembled a task force to look into the homicides. Each of the perpetrators who identified were booked into county jail. The arrestees were incarcerated on 16 different felony charges. Among those are aggravated murder, arson, and burglary. They all pled not guilty to the charges. Judge ordered them held without bail on a $20 million bail for possession of firearms, alcohol, and drugs. In April of 2024, the men were found guilty on 30 charges, including first-degree murder and premeditated murder and arson. And on May 7th, 2024, they were all sentenced to life without parole. So a happy ending there. Trashy people that do stuff like that. That's insane. They killed the whole family. For what? For what? For some drugs? Like, crazy.
This morning, the start of closing arguments.
And they didn't even get the money. They didn't get the money. There was $57,000 they left in the house. So make this make sense. They did it for nothing.
Arguments as the state laid out its case, trying to show the jury that the three men accused are violent killers that tried to cover their tracks the whole way. Two members of the Bandidos motorcycle club and another man are facing murder charges for the killing of a family in Seabeck in 2017.
We know that the murders were carefully and thoroughly planned.
Their target, this man, John Careaga, a restaurant owner and father who investigators say was dealing drugs on the side. When he stopped dealing to members of the motorcycle club, these three men are accused of killing three members of his family. John Careaga was found dead in his truck days later.
This case is not at all about what was done. It's about who did it. And the evidence shows that these three defendants, Robert Watson.
This goes to show you that dealing drugs and being involved with drugs is just bad all the way around. Things like this can happen. It can have a ripple effect where other people are affected by what you do. Like this guy just thinking he's not doing nothing wrong. He's just making money on the side. It's not affecting anything. It ends up affecting his whole family. His whole family gets killed. It would be different if it was just him, you know, take responsibility for whatever and they kill him. Okay. Like that's a little more not reasonable, because someone getting killed is not reasonable in any form, you know. But by him getting involved in drugs, it put his whole family at risk for something like this to happen.
Danie Kelly and Johnny Watson, working together, planned these murders. They planned the murder of John Careaga and his family. They planned to destroy the house by arson, to destroy any evidence that could be left behind.
Key evidence coming from a 911 call made by Hunter Schaap, a teenager who was shot that night and would later die of his injuries.
Kitsap Peninsula reporting.
My whole family shot me too.
Over the course of the 5-month jury trial, the defense worked to cast doubt on the timeline and the cell phone towers used to track the alleged killer's movements.
The time doesn't work. The geography doesn't work. And the math just doesn't work.
Closing arguments are slated to go until Friday, and soon the case will be in the hands of the jury. All three men face the possibility of life in prison if convicted.
And that's what they got. So they got what they wanted. And happy end to a story, right? But I send prayers out to the family. It's a very sad situation. But I got a lot more shows for you. We're going to get into a bunch of different scenarios. We're going to bring up some old videos and have some laughs. So if you guys like this content, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Tonight is The Undercover with the Hells Angels and the Mafia up in Canada. It's a really good story. Make sure you tune in tonight at 10 o'clock. And if you want to see it right now and don't want to wait till tonight, join the membership and you could watch the video right now. It's on members only. I appreciate everyone that takes the time to watch this show. If you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you could get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, too fucking bad. Start your own podcast. And remember, don't be a bitch.
And all new at 5, a major organized crime bust. 23 people under arrest now, accused of stealing guns and cash.
Today, police revealed 4 organized crime groups are wreaking havoc.
From aggravated robbery to kidnapping, burglary, and more. Let's take a look at this. New pictures from court documents in this case. These are a few of the people who have been charged, and investigators say the money, tens of thousands of dollars, is all stolen.